Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I want to start by taking a moment to acknowledge the courage of the 5 women today who testified this morning before the Senate's Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations about their experiences with sexual assault and sexual harassment at the Coast Guard Academy. It's incumbent on the Coast Guard and Congress to do everything that we can to ensure cadets are not exposed to sexual assault or harassment at the Academy. Just yesterday, my staff reviewed a prosecution memo that shed light on a lack of accountability at the Coast Guard. And while we continue to conduct oversight and listen to survivors, I'm prepared to do whatever is necessary to ensure a safer experience for every Coastie. Many people are aware of the Coast Guard's search and rescue mission, but I'm glad we're having today's hearing to examine the Coast Guard's lesser-known missions, including efforts to support national security interests in the Indo-Pacific and Arctic regions. Extreme weather events are affecting every aspect of Coast Guard operations, from severe storms causing maritime casualties to coastal erosion at Coast Guard stations. The service is forced to confront climate change on a daily basis, and no place is changing more than the thawing Arctic. The Arctic is experiencing increased cargo and passenger vessel traffic, increased vessel traffic from foreign governments, including Russia and China, and a growing interest in natural resources, including minerals, oil, gas, and fish. The Coast Guard is the lead agency tasked with maritime safety, law enforcement, and national security in the Arctic, but with current resources, it cannot meet the demand. The Coast Guard operates 1 heavy and 1 medium icebreaker that are responsible for maintaining a regular presence in the Arctic and the Antarctic. The combined age of these 2 icebreakers is 72 years. Given the services need to be present in both the Arctic and Antarctic annually, more resources are required. While the Coast Guard is under contract to build more heavy icebreakers, I have serious concerns about the procurement and look forward to hearing how the service plans to ensure the smooth construction and delivery of those cutters. As well, during times of war, the Coast Guard can be transferred in whole or in part to the Navy. Though this has not happened since World War I, the Coast Guard has experienced significant growth in its international missions in support of the Department of Defense. The Coast Guard's operations in the Indo-Pacific illustrate this point. 3 fast response cutters are currently deployed to Guam in support of Indo-Pacific operations, and the service regularly deploys national security cutters to patrol the region. The Coast Guard's presence in the Indo-Pacific is invaluable. As a non-DoD service, the Coast Guard can operate in unique ways and places. For instance, in June of this year, a Coast Guard cutter transited the Taiwan Strait in conjunction with trilateral exercises with the Philippines and Japan, an operation that garners far less attention than if conducted by the U.S. Navy. The Coast Guard's presence in the Arctic and the Indo-Pacific are just 2 examples of a broader trend of increased demand on the service. Unfortunately, this growth has not come with an increase in the requisite resources, and we're seeing mission strain across the Coast Guard. Just last month, we were alerted that the Coast Guard has a service member shortage of 10%, and as a result, is suspending or scaling back operations at dozens of stations across the country. Coast Guard shoreside infrastructure faces a maintenance backlog of at least $3 billion, and several cutter procurement programs face delays, including the polar security cutters, offshore patrol cutters, and waterways commerce cutters. There are real consequences associated with insufficient funding. While its motto is Semper Paratus, or always ready, I fear we are quickly reaching a point where the Coast Guard will be only sometimes ready. It is time for Congress to fully resource the Coast Guard for all of its missions. I want to thank you, Chair Webster, for holding today's hearing. I look forward to hearing how Congress can do better to support the Coast Guard. With that, I yield back.
I now recognize Ranking Member Carbajal for